Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Finance Troll. I'm Matt and I'm here to help you get out of that cave. Let's go. We're going into real estate investment types today. I am a licensed broker here in North Carolina, South Carolina, so I have a little bit of experience with some of this. Obviously, full disclosure, some of the stuff in here I'm not able to do because I have a license. However, if you don't have a license, you want to get into real estate, let's go through some of this stuff. Today, we're going to be going through the three types of real estate transactions that you can be a part of. First one is no money, all sweat. Second one, some money, lots of sweat. Third option, money and sweat. You're always going to have to put sweat in. I mean, let's be honest, guys. We're a bunch of trolls. We got to work our way up. You don't just start with 5, 6, 20 houses. You got to work your way up from the bottom. First option, no money, right? So you just want to get into the game. You just want to see how this goes. You want to learn. That's fine. You can be a bird dog. You can wholesale, or you can be an investor mule. What does that mean? Wholesale is where, or bird dog is where you're going to find a house, whether it's your buddy, it's a guy down the street, it's your grandma, something like that. Somebody wants to sell their property and they want to do it quickly. They have a reason why they want to go fast. They have a reason why they want to sell for a loss or something that's below market value. And there's many reasons people want to do this. This isn't some kind of sleazy thing. A lot of people want to go quickly because they need to move fast because their job changed or their house is in really bad condition and they're not interested in trying to get lowball offers on the market. They'd rather just get it from investors they trust. Investor Mule is you are going to be looking for these things specifically for an investor. Either way, all three of these options, you don't need any money to do it. You just got to get out there and start talking to people. And if you're good at talking to people, you're going to be good at this. If you're bad at talking to people, you're probably going to be bad at this. Option two, you have some money and you want to buy something, right? You're like, I got $10,000, $15,000 and I'm ready to take the big plunge. Well, there's a bunch of different things that we'll get into for that. And if you have a bunch of money, say you got 100 grand and you're trying to get into the game, there are a lot of things you need to learn. We'll get in that as well, but there are three different buckets and let's go through them right now. All right, no money, all sweat. The first thing I would recommend that you trolls do, join the local RIA. What does that mean? This is a real estate investor group. So this is a bunch of people who are getting together. They want to talk about different properties they have, different issues they're having, all that kind of stuff. Join these immediately. There are plenty of them all throughout whatever city you're in. Join these now. Number two, find the houses for others. This is the best way to get started. And all you need to do is go and talk to these people and say, hey, what kind of stuff are you looking for? What neighborhoods are you interested in? All that kind of stuff. And you can start going and finding these houses as easy as you can drive around. You can knock on a door, say hello, introduce yourself. I'm looking to buy some properties in the area. Do you know anybody who wants to sell? Are you interested in selling? You can go on Zillow. There's for sale by owners on there. They have actually posted. They want to sell their house. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. There's plenty of ways to find properties, and I don't need to get into all that right now, but that is an option. Skill swaps are one of my favorite things. This is actually how I got started in the real estate game. You're bringing skills for deal finding or management or construction knowledge or something in exchange for equity. In my case, I have a broker's license. So I am bringing my knowledge of the market, my skills as a broker in buying and selling properties, and the MLS, which is a thing in itself, to the deal. I have a partner who is a CPA. He brings bookkeeping and finance and deed of trust to the table. So between the two of us, we can save a lot of money on top of a normal person because we have got that when nobody else does. You can also have contractor experience where you know a bunch of electrical guys and plumbers and you want to run a rehab for somebody and you want to be boots on the ground. Some guy in New York City wants to buy a house in Charlotte. I'm going to be boots on the ground for you. I'm going to be there every day or every week. I'm going to take your pictures. I'm going to run your contractors. I'm going to let you know when something happens. I'm going to run your budgets. I'm going to do all these things. Skill swaps are the best way to get started with very little money, where you are just providing the equity for someone who has the money and not a lot of time. You can also manage the rentals at the end without a PM company, do the bookkeeping, the trust funds. Like I said, there's a ton of stuff that needs to be done after the rehabs are completed, and all of those things are very valuable. This is probably the most important part of real estate is the some money, lots of sweat. You're never going to get out of the sweat, but if you have a little bit of money and you really want to get started, you want to buy your first property, there are tons of ways to do that. $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 is plenty of money to buy your first property. You have to be very careful, and here's some of the things you need to look at. Option one, the best one for my younger folks out there, low down payment option, FHA, USDA, VA. You're a veteran, you want to buy your first house that you're going to probably use as a rental, use a VA loan. It's super low money down, but great interest rate. They're going to make sure the repairs are done, and then you can live in it. So you live in it for 2 years, and then you can rent that property out. Your payment stays exactly the same. So that is a great hack to get a very low interest entry level thing that you can then rent out later. Duplex hack, another great one where you live in one side of a house and you rent out the other. This also works with room hack where you can buy a house, buy your first property, put your $10,000, $15,000 down, rent out your rooms for $400 or $500 a head. There you go. Your mortgage is being paid for. So any of these initial things, if you're a young single guy, single girl, you want to live there, screen your people accordingly, but you can do this. The seller finance and assumable loans is the next best thing when you're buying a property. There are 80% of the US right now has an interest rate below 4%. So that is a very good thing if you can get an assumable loan. VAs are assumable. So if you're a veteran, you can assume a loan from somebody else. But then you can't use that loan. There's a whole bunch of stuff to do. But assumable mortgages are possible. Seller finance is another one where if someone has all equity, they just own their $150,000 house outright, you can offer them 10% down and a payment. Hey, I'll give you 10% down and $1,000 a month for 5 years, right? There you go. You just now made your own loan with these people, and maybe they get an interest rate. Maybe however you finagle it, the seller finance is very good. BRRRR method. This came from Bigger Pockets back in 2006. This is buy, rehab, rent, refinance. That's what the BRRRR stands for. I had to think about it. That's what BRRRR means. So what you're trying to do here is you're trying to buy a property without your money at all. So you want to find a lender, and that's your grandma, your mom, your cousin, your neighbor, your accountant, whoever. Somebody's got $150,000. And what you need to do is you need to buy that $100,000 property that needs $30,000 worth of work and prove to them that it's worth $200,000 when you're completed. And what you're going to do is you're going to do that work. They're going to pay for it. You're going to pay them interest at 10%, 11%, whatever. And then when you refinance it out, you can get 80% of the appraised value. Where you can get into trouble here is if you miss that number at the end, 200,000 is actually 160,000, you will have to come up with your own money. So either way, this kind of goes back to as long as you have some money, you don't really need a ton of money to buy real estate, but you do need some money. So this is a great method. This is how I've gotten all 16 of my properties with this BRRRR method. I'm usually pretty close. Sometimes you get a low appraisal, and then you have to get a second loan from one of your buddies. But either way, BRRRR method, amazing. And the lender math is very simple. You want to offer people something that they can't get anywhere else, like the stock market or whatever. And the best thing to offer that I've found is 1 point and 10%. This is very market driven. If the market is in a high rate environment and you can get 8% just putting a bond somewhere, you ain't getting 10% in a real estate where it's a lot higher risk. But if the bond rates are 3 or 2%, what are you going to do? You put it on your mattress for 2%, you're going to give me your money and I can do this rehab and I can give you 10%. So that is the lender math, and many, many people will sign up for that. They will be first position if they're the only loan. So obviously if you're like, hey, I need 130,000 for this house, it's worth 200 when I'm done with it. Worst case that happens is you don't pay them. They would foreclose on you and take the house in whatever condition it's in. So if you've rehabbed it and done all the work, they're actually getting a sweet deal. If you screwed it up and you made it worse, they're getting a bad deal. So real estate is not without risk. 10% interest is not without risk. That is a very high interest. So just make sure you know that. Last one, money and sweat. If you have a bunch of money and you've just been waiting to get into real estate and now's the time, you're ready to go, first thing, you need to know how to calculate your cash on cash return. This is the amount of money you're putting in and the yearly return of the asset. So for instance, if you buy a property for $100,000 and it's going to cost you $150,000 to rehab, that's $150,000, right? If it's going to get $2,000 a month in rent times 0.9, you want to pay 10% off for vacancy time or something breaking or whatever. That's $1,800 a month times 12, $21,600 per year divided by 150 is 14% cash on cash return. You don't want to go below 15. Like you just don't. Trust me. And you can go higher than that. Some people are more conservative. Some people just don't really care. And they're okay with 12. Not me. I want at least 15 to 17%. So if you are going to buy something all cash, never settle for less than a 15% cash on cash return. What is a cap rate? Very important to know. This is the calculation you're going to do to make sure your percentage, very similar to cash on cash, but you want your cap rate to be probably in the 9s or 10s. Again, market driven, depends on what kind of market we're in. But this cap rate is available online. There's tons of calculators. I need to get into it right now. Make sure you understand cap rate. Why refinance? Real estate is a long-term leverage game. If somebody is paying you cash directly, that's great. But I would rather that cash from the rents be paying the mortgage down for free. That's why people do real estate. And for the tax reasons and some of the stuff I won't get into because I'm not an accountant. But I would always refinance my properties when rates get to a certain percentage point. 5, 4.5, 5.5. Any of that is usually pretty decent unless you bought your property really bad. So always try to refinance and then take that cash and leverage it into another property. And the power of multifamily is that if you can get one building with multiple doors, that is the sweet spot because you are getting income from doors that you would have only gotten one income from one door. Now you have the same structure, with structure is probably 60% of the cost of a property, minus if there's a bunch of kitchens, obviously. But either way, the structure is the majority of the thing. If you can get a bunch of doors in there with all income producing, that's where you want to be. So if you've got cash, I'd highly recommend, again, leveraging it into something. $200,000 down on a $1.2 million asset will generate you a ton more money than $200,000 buying one single house, making you $2,000 in rent. So very important to think that way. And last slide, your first rental, what do we expect here? Save for large, expensive repairs. This is how it goes. You buy your first rental. You say, I listened to the finance troll. He talked me into this. I'm ready to get my first rental. And then the HVAC is going to go out and you're going to need to spend $8,000 on it. Big, large, expensive repairs happen. Or a line of storms comes through and nails your rental. All of a sudden you need a roof. Right? So you got to make sure you've got that money saved up. If you are making a couple $100 net in rent each month, save that money. Don't spend it. This is not a get rich quick scheme. You need to save this money and leverage it into other things. For successful rehab, underwhelm the actual construction, but overwhelm on the nice cosmetics. So you want the property to look safe and nice and clean and a nice kitchen and nice appliances, all the areas where the spouse is happy in, right? The bathrooms and the kitchen. You have a nasty bathroom and a nasty kitchen, good luck. But these things are not actually that expensive to make sure you have. Build a nice deck. $2,000 for a nice deck. It goes a huge way. So you got to do these little things, but make sure you get a good contractor, but don't overdo it. Don't get the nicest, highest end cabinets, the nicest, highest end appliances, all the fanciest light fixtures and all this stuff and make it look like HGTV. They are wrong. You need to spend $15,000 tops a lot of these places. Get them nice, clean, and ready to go. Undercut the rents of the market a little bit. You will never go wrong. ARV and a change or scope of work and managing your contractors. Again, make sure you have guys that are not top of the line. The guy shows up in a fancy truck wrapped with their logo. That guy ain't for you, right? None of us on this video got to where we are because we paid for those guys. Don't call the guy that you find in Google that got all the reviews. That's not the guy. You need the other guy. And again, go to your RIAs, meet these people. They are there. ARV in a changing market, you want to make sure you're conservative with your prices. You never want to be like, oh, in 3 years, this will be up 10, 15%. I'm fine, right? No, it may not. So make sure the prices of today, you can factor in, okay, what if the market goes down 20, 30%? Does it matter? Am I going to hold this for a long time? If you're going to hold it for a long time, that's great. It really doesn't matter. Just get the ARV. As long as you're making money each month and you're not paying into a house, you're in good shape most times. And how to find a tenant, I use apartments.com. They aren't paying me to say that or anything like that. They're just pretty much free. And you can post your rentals on there. You can get people to apply, screen them, see their credit, see all this other stuff. So it's a great way to go if you're just a guy looking to do your own management.